Welcome into Power Plays presented by Bet365. I'm Tim Kalinowski, joined by Michael Leboff and Nick Martin. The three of us make up Line Change, Action Network's NHL betting podcast, but we record Monday through Wednesday. We don't break down the Saturday slate. That's why we do it right here for you with three best bets. And we do it a draft style, and it's finally my turn to have the number one overall pick. So we're going to skip the pleasantries, gentlemen. I'm just going to get right into it. I like the Edmonton Oilers as a short favorite at the Toronto Maple Leafs on Saturday night. Probably like it up to minus 130. For me, this is more of a fade on Toronto. I mean, first off, we've been talking about the Maple Leafs malaise. This is now how many years in a row that they are essentially not playing for anything going down the stretch here. They're pretty much locked into their playoff position. That can be difficult for teams to find that extra motivation. And even if you say, hey, the motivation on home ice Saturday night, well, they're not that great at home, or compared to their road record. Those splits have been well documented. They have question marks in net in terms of, who's going to be the guy, Sammy or Woll here. Marner, is he coming back? And also, too, they made some acquisitions on the defensive end. However, they've had a little bit of difficulty piecing these, pairings together here. They got a bunch of left-hand shot guys playing on their offside. I just think that there's far more avenues for the Oilers here. They should be a bit bigger favorite, so I like them minus 130. I have a feeling you two are a little bit envious of me having the first pick here. Nick, I imagine you concur?
Yeah, I do. I used the first pick to grab the Hurricanes last week, and we lucked out on that one because pretty lucky
Big
win,
time.
obviously. Uh, and Toronto really has played pretty well this week. I don't really buy into the playing for nothing narrative. I just think with the strength of what the Oilers have shown with Mitch Martin out of the lineup, I again think that this opening number is too short. Same as last Saturday. I think it's going to move to about minus 140 by puck drop. I can't really see who's interested in betting Toronto at this kind of a number. Their power play's been not what it usually is. They're a lot more one-dimensional offensively, got some gettable pieces on the blue line. They're kind of trying to figure out how they're going to patch that together. So I'm right with you. I think with a healthy Oilers squad coming in, these openers are too short. Like you said, no home ice advantage in Toronto. We know every team gets up for their games there when you've typically got like 5 Ontario guys on the team. And that narrative continues to play out. I think it's going to play out for the Oilers tomorrow night. So I'm not necessarily thinking Toronto's not going to be up for it. I just think that the gap between these teams right now is wider than this, especially when I'm not really willing to credit a home ice advantage for the Leafs. So right with you. I think this is a good pick.
Yeah, the Leafs are still a good team, and you are nitpicking when you're talking about a line that is, kind of this small, and it just seems like it adds up to more advantages for the Oilers here. Leboff, quickly, did we hit the nail on the head here?
Yeah, I think so. I think at full health, you can make an argument that this line would look a little bit more feasible. But with Marner out, Bertuzzi's sick. Like you said, the D pairs have just kind of been a work in progress. I think that Sheldon Keefe and his staff are just trying to figure out what the right mix is here as we get towards the playoffs. So against an Oilers team that has been humming for months on months now, I don't think that this is a particularly good spot to bet Toronto. I think that minus 130 is a good cutoff for the Oilers. I do expect we'll see them take the money. For my pick, and I'm happy that we have a little disagreement because usually on the show it sounds a lot like that conversation we just had. I like the Philadelphia Flyers. They're plus 130. I think this number still has maybe a little bit more room to grow. They're taking on the Boston Bruins. They're at home. This is a little bit of two things. The Bruins they're not up to their standards at the things that they're usually elite at right now, which is preventing scoring chances. They're playing a lot more high event hockey than we normally see out of this group. Of late, it's been a pretty meaningful sample size now. It's not been, just a 3 or 4 game blip. It's been closer to that 20 game mark since the All-Star break, really for the Bruins here. And I think that they're getting credit for overtaking the Panthers to become the team that's in first place in the Atlantic right now. But a lot of that is just that the Panthers have slowed down considerably. They've lost 3 in a row. The Bruins, I don't think, have taken that spot. It's just kind of fallen into their laps a bit. Meanwhile, the Flyers have looked really good the past 2 nights, and we know what they can do as an underdog. So I think that in a game where we'll see the two teams that want to accomplish similar things, the Bruins, of course, are a little bit better at it. I don't think that this game will play out quite like what we saw when the Bruins played the Flyers about a week ago, where kind of all hell broke loose. I think that this should be a little bit tighter. I think that the Flyers know what the mission is here as they try to track down a playoff spot. So, I never have a problem betting this Flyers team as an underdog, especially at home. And now with the Bruins team that looks a little bit leaky, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, we usually love the Flyers as dogs. We've been talking about it all season. I just think it almost feels an instance where, the jig is up in terms of this number would have been a lot longer earlier in the season, and I just think it's a little more factoring in. Hey, Philly has to win. I feel like that could be one of those things baked into this number, which again, it's something that you don't want a narrative that you don't want to bet into. And it's not like the Flyers are going to be taking any games off here, but we all talked about this stretch for them and how important it was. And hey, this is the time where, the curtain unveils the real Philadelphia Flyers and they fall out of the playoffs. Well, they get 2 points against Toronto, and then they got 1 point against Carolina on Thursday night. And to me, that's pretty much job well done. So I think they are already kind of playing with house money and how they've started this little stretch, and wouldn't be shocked if there's just a hiccup here with the Boston team that obviously has a goaltending advantage and can kill you on the power play. Nick?
Yeah, I'm closer to the Bruins here as well. I get that their plays tailed off a little bit. They still had some pretty good wins mixed in this month, but to me, this just looks like a pretty heavy discount on that versus a Flyers side that's got a significant disadvantage in goal. I think that the Bruins can still skate with them, and if anything, their power play offers a pretty notable edge, even if the even strength play is kind of close. So for me, I think that this is like a fair number. I think that the Bruins struggles are pretty accounted for, especially when you just look at the raw numbers of like how often the Bruins have won over the last 2 years. They just keep burning us. They have such good goaltending. They're so good at finding ways to win. I don't know if we're quite getting the number here on Philly.
Well, I like that finally we have some disagreement. So I guess, it's about time. It wasn't just, yep, 3 likes all the way around. So Leboff there is on the Flyers as a dog. And our last pick will go to Nick Martin. However, before we do so, I have to let you know that Power Plays is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than anyone else. Every day they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays. And they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. 21 plus only, or 18 plus in Kentucky and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, and now North Carolina. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in Colorado, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. T's and C's and restrictions apply. That's well done, Tim. Nick, finish us off here.
Okay, I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Kings. Should be able to get them at better than -130 versus the Lightning. Both these teams are playing really well this week. The Lightning have won 5 in a row. They're shooting the lights out. I think they've scored more than 5 goals in every one of those games. But I have more faith in what the Kings are doing right now, being a better team game moving forward. Like we saw when everyone was kind of proclaiming them as like that sneaky cup favorite around December. I think they're starting to show more like that team. They're finding it offensively. The second line's been excellent. Kevin Fiala is in great form. He's also driving the power plays bounce back. Top line looks really good. And then suddenly with Arvidsson back in the lineup and Dubois actually playing some solid hockey for a short stretch, but that looks like a legitimately good third line. Their defense core is significantly better than the Lightning's. They don't have Vasilevsky in net, which is obviously the main drop-off here, but they're still getting really good goaltending from Cam Talbot. So I actually think that they're a significantly more well-rounded team than the Lightning. I want to buy into what they're doing a lot more. I thought this number was a little short, and that the Lightning, it's kind of a good time to sell on what they've been doing. I don't necessarily think Dumba and Duclair entirely plugged the many holes on their lineup. The other thing,
Wait, Nick, so we're getting Rittich here, right, Nick? Is that what you said?
It could be Rittich or it could be Talbot. I don't really care. Like to this point, Rittich has actually played to the slightly better numbers. I don't know if I'd count on that moving forward. I still think Talbot's the better goalie, but really, I don't think you need to worry about that. And then there's a tiny chance the Lightning would go Johansson here, but I'd assume he gets the game on Sunday. But that's always another positive when you can say you can lock in this number currently. And then if they happen to do that, you're obviously going to be seeing something closer to Kings minus 145. So yeah, I think the Kings are definitely the superior team right now. I think they're miles better in terms of their defensive form than the Lightning, who've had a good week, but I still thought that Vegas game could have gone a lot worse for them. Panthers game could have lost by 5 if Vasilevsky didn't have one of the best games we've seen from a goalie this year. And even last night with the Sharks was pretty competitive. So I'm more of a believer in the Kings moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like everything the Lightning touch turns to gold. Every player that comes in there, I don't know, I can't really remember off the top of my head the last player they brought in. It's like, oh, that was a complete dud. It feels like it always seems to work out for them, and that, you know, then credit to them. They did that's that system, John Cooper, all that sort of thing. I'll say this: I'm on LA as well here. I think. First off, Vasilevsky, even if it is him going here, he's on one of those another Vasilevsky runs. He's played something like 15 games, 10 games in a row, whatever it is, every game since February 27th. So, I mean, not to say that this guy's going to run out of gas, but I think that also Tampa kind of has done their job here in making sure that they're going to be in the playoffs. I pretty much feel like we know where their spot is going to be. Maybe it's an opportunity to take their foot off the gas, but also think too, LA, a lot of us, kind of dropped LA as a darling when they went through that, when the floor fell up from underneath them. But now they're back to playing good hockey, and I think a lot of people have overlooked that, and they're talking about the next sexy story and things of the likes of the Nashville Predators. So I think you're onto something there, Nick, and potentially being undervalued. Leboff, you're a guy who likes dogs. This is a favorite. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the Kings are the right side here as well. I think it's a little bit too high on a Tampa team that's rolling right now, but so much of their production comes from one player, one line. I think it's something like 240 goals, and Kucherov has played a part in 50 something percent of it. And the Kings are a team that can eat that stuff up with their defensive structure and their ability to line match, especially at home. So I think this is a tough matchup for the Lightning, who are sort of in that Maple Leafs universe now, where they can, no team's just going to kick its feet up, obviously. And I think sometimes we run away with these narratives, but I do think that with where Tampa is in the standings and seemingly increasingly likely to finish in that first wild card spot, we could see that this very veteran professional team, they've been known to do this in the past, can maybe go into a little bit of a lull right now, save their legs for the playoffs. But it's not even that more than anything. It's just that, as Nick said, this Kings team is playing a pretty solid 5-on-5 game, and quietly are becoming a team that you might want to have a piece of as we head into the playoffs.
Yeah. And the last one I'd kind of slide out there too, that I feel like it's always just like the Lightning have still been a great fade this year. And I'm not, this could be a time where maybe that gets going. They're just a team that can do very little and start to get so much credit from mainstream media. Like I'm watching games this week and seeing people saying they're in the cup contenders list again. I think if you flipped these teams and just analyze their games for what they are this year, the Kings still have a higher winning percentage. They're a better team. I think they're more well-rounded. They have like a better defensive core 1-6. So I think if you didn't, like, you take away those cups from Tampa, which were now numerous seasons ago, it feels like this team can just do very little, and people are always just going to lean towards being like, oh, they're so good, they're this unbeatable wagon. But I think you can really point to a lot of flaws on the roster. So I'm still not entirely sold on the Lightning at all.
And hey, LA had cups numerous years ago at this point. So, and hopefully it's numerous wins for us on Saturday. Good luck to everyone betting the pucks this weekend. Weaseling that in with your March Madness bets as well. It's a ton of fun. So it's a great time of year. There's nothing like it. Playoff hockey is on the horizon. A lot of teams already playing that playoff hockey. Good luck to you and all your wagers this weekend, unless, of course, they're against any of ours. We will see you next time here on Power Plays presented by Bet365.